You probably think you're doing okay with money. You pay the bills when they're due. You're not out here buying yachts or doing anything insane. Maybe you even have a savings account sitting somewhere, technically. But then the month ends, and somehow nothing has changed. Your account balance looks almost the same. Your goals still feel far away. Other people are booking vacations, buying houses, talking about investing, and you're sitting there wondering, what am I missing? Here's the truth. The problem is not always that you're terrible with money. And it's not always that your income is too low, even though that could be part of it. The real problem is that you may have built normal-looking money habits that quietly work against you every single month. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't feel reckless. They don't feel dramatic. They don't look like huge financial disasters while you're doing them. They feel practical. They feel normal. They feel like what everybody else is doing. And that is exactly how they keep you stuck. In this video, we're breaking down 11 money habits that keep people poor. Some of these may hit a little too close to home. You might see yourself in one of them, or 3 of them, or maybe almost all of them. That uncomfortable feeling is useful, because once you can see the habit clearly, you finally have a chance to break it. Let's start with number 1, paying yourself last. This is how most people handle money. The paycheck arrives, then the bills attack. Rent gets paid, utilities get paid. The car payment, phone bill, subscriptions, credit card minimums, everybody gets their piece first. Then the lifestyle spending shows up. Food with friends, drinks, tickets to whatever event everyone is talking about, random purchases that feel harmless in the moment. And then, after all of that, whatever is left is supposed to go into savings. But here's the problem. There is almost never anything left. Another bill appears. Another expense feels urgent. Another reason shows up for why saving can wait until next month. That is what paying yourself last really means. You are making your future stand at the back of the line, hoping it gets whatever scraps are left after everyone else has been paid. And the issue is not just discipline. The issue is order. If your future only gets paid after your landlord, your bank, your phone company, your subscriptions, your credit card company, and your weekend plans, then your future is already losing. People who build wealth usually reverse the order. When money comes in, a portion gets moved immediately into savings or investments before they spend from it, before they feel it, before lifestyle can swallow it. That is not willpower. That is a system. When you save first, your spending has to adjust to what remains. When you save last, your saving has to survive whatever remains. And most of the time, that number is 0. So treat saving like a required payment. Not optional, not left over, not maybe this month, first. Start with at least 10%. Automate it. Send it somewhere separate before you have a chance to touch it. Keep it away from the account you constantly check so it does not become easy spending money. When you pay yourself last, you keep proving to your future that it does not matter. When you pay yourself first, you start building proof that it does. Number 2. Spending money because you think you're saving money. You bought the shoes because they were 40% off. You bought 3 items when you only needed 1 because the sign said, buy 2, get 1 free. You checked out during a major online sale for things you were not even thinking about until the notification appeared. This is one of the oldest traps in marketing, convincing you that spending is the same as saving. The math sounds convincing. Something usually costs $100. Today, it costs $60. So you saved $40, right? No. You spent $60. That imaginary $40 never entered your bank account. It was just a number placed in front of you to make the purchase feel like a win. Real savings are money you keep. You cannot build wealth from discounts on things you did not need. The only time you save 100% is when you do not buy the thing at all. Sales work because they create pressure. They make you feel like the clock is running out. They make you scared you'll miss your only chance. They push you to decide before your brain has time to slow down and ask, did I even want this yesterday? That is how browsing turns into buying. And the trap works best on people who believe they are being smart because they are getting a deal. Holiday sales, online shopping events, Black Friday, flash discounts, limited time offers, they all use the same basic message. Buy now or you'll lose. But if you are not already planning to buy it and you would not have paid full price for it, then it is not a bargain. It is just a cheaper version of money leaving your life. Sometimes the best deal is the one you walk away from. If the item was not already on your list before the sale began, and if you would never have bought it at full price, then the discount did not save you money. It only made an unnecessary purchase look smarter. The best deal is often the one you leave behind. Number 3. Having no idea where your money is actually going. Ask someone how much they spend on food in a month, and most of the time, they will throw out a rough guess. Ask how much they are paying in subscriptions, and suddenly, the answer gets blurry. Ask them to lay out their full monthly spending, and the conversation gets uncomfortable fast. That is not money management. That is flying blind. You cannot fix what you refuse to measure. And when your spending is not being watched, it quietly starts making decisions for you. Tracking money feels uncomfortable because it removes the fantasy. A spreadsheet does not care what you meant to spend. It shows what actually happened. You cannot pretend the food delivery problem is small when $200 in orders is staring back at you. You cannot ignore subscription creep when $90 a month is going toward apps and services you barely open. You cannot keep believing your spending is not that bad when the numbers prove something different. That discomfort is not a mistake. That discomfort is the signal. A lot of people avoid tracking because deep down they do not want the truth. The truth creates responsibility. The truth takes away the fog. The truth makes it harder to keep defending habits that are draining you. But until you know exactly what comes in and exactly what leaves, you are not really in control. You are guessing. You are reacting. You are reaching the end of the month surprised instead of starting the month with a plan. So track everything for one full month. Every coffee, every random purchase, every automatic charge you forgot about, every tip you rounded up without thinking. Every small it's only $5 decision that seemed too tiny to matter. By the end, the picture may not feel good, but it will show you where your money has been leaking. Number 4. Lifestyle creep. You finally get the raise. More money starts hitting your account every 2 weeks, and it feels like a breakthrough. You worked for it. You earned it. You want to enjoy it. So the upgrades begin. A better apartment, a nicer car, more restaurants, better trips, new clothes, maybe even a more expensive neighborhood that feels like it matches the new version of your income. And at first it feels deserved. But a few months later, something strange happens. You are making more money than before, but you do not feel any freer. Your balance still looks weak. The stress is still there. The goals still feel distant. The only thing that changed is that your bills got bigger. That is lifestyle creep. Your expenses quietly rise until they match your income. What used to feel like luxury becomes normal. What used to feel like a reward becomes expected. The upgraded lifestyle becomes the new baseline, and suddenly going back feels almost impossible. That is the trap. Once your lifestyle inflates, cutting back feels like failure. It feels like losing status. It feels like admitting you moved too fast. So you keep paying for the upgraded life, even when it is not actually building anything. You end up running harder just to stay in the same place. Sometimes you even take on debt just to maintain a lifestyle that your income technically touched but never truly secured. That raise could have changed your future. It could have built savings. It could have funded investments. It could have created breathing room. But instead, it disappeared into nicer versions of the same expenses. Enjoying your money is not the problem. The problem is upgrading too quickly, before your foundation is strong. Lifestyle improvements should be intentional, slow, controlled. Built after the basics are handled, not automatic, not instant, and definitely not at the cost of the future you say you want. Number 5. Using credit cards like a backup income. You swipe now and tell yourself you will handle it later. By the time the statement arrives, another paycheck will have landed. Somehow it will work out. But somehow it keeps not working out. The balance carries over. Interest starts piling on. The debt grows quietly. Not fast enough to scare you immediately, but steady enough to keep you trapped. 1 month you almost clear it. Then life happens, another expense hits, and suddenly you are right back where you started. More than 60% of Americans carry credit card debt. The average balance is over $5,000, and average interest rates are above 20%. So if you are only making minimum payments, you are not really escaping the debt. You are mostly paying the bank to keep the debt alive. Credit cards themselves are not the enemy. They can be useful. They can protect you from fraud. They can make payments convenient. They can even give rewards when used correctly. But they become dangerous when they turn into a financial crutch. That means using them to buy things your actual money cannot cover, while convincing yourself future income will clean up the mess. And the real danger is not only mathematical, it is psychological. Credit cards break the connection between buying and feeling the cost. You get the reward immediately. The item shows up now. The meal happens now. The purchase feels good now. But the pain comes later, buried inside a statement full of charges you barely remember making. You tap a phone. You swipe a card. You click one button. And suddenly money stops feeling like money. It becomes invisible. Abstract. Almost fake. That broken feedback loop makes overspending feel painless in the moment, which is why it becomes so easy to repeat. The rule should be simple. If you could not pay it off in full today, then you cannot afford it today. A credit card should be a payment tool, not a way to pretend your budget is bigger than it really is. Use it like a debit card. Spend only what already exists in your account. When you do that, the card stops being a trap and becomes a tool. Number 6. Buying things for your imaginary future self. Look around your life. There may be clothes you barely touch, workout equipment sitting in a corner, books stacked up but never opened, hobby supplies from a version of you that showed up for 3 days and disappeared. The guitar. The running shoes. The expensive kitchen gadgets still sitting in the box. That is fantasy self-spending. It is when you buy for the person you imagine you are becoming instead of the person your actual behavior proves you are right now. Your fantasy self runs every morning, so you buy the shoes. Your fantasy self cooks impressive meals, so you buy the cookware. Your fantasy self reads constantly, so you buy books that quietly become decoration. Your fantasy self is refined, disciplined, cultured, productive, and always improving. So you buy the objects that seem to belong to that identity. And in the moment, it feels like progress. It feels aspirational. It feels mature. It feels like you are investing in a better life. But then the habit never follows. The better version never becomes real, and all you have left is expensive evidence of intentions you did not act on. Now, buying tools for growth is not automatically bad. Sometimes you do need the equipment, clothing, books, or resources that support a real change you are already making. Preparing for the future you are actively building is valid. The problem starts when purchasing replaces practicing. When buying the thing gives you the emotional reward of progress without the actual work. When you buy the costume but never play the role. Before spending money on the person you hope to become, ask yourself one thing. What have I done consistently, recently, that proves I am already becoming that person? If the answer is nothing, then the purchase is probably not preparation. It is just expensive cosplay for a life you are not actually living. Number 7. Saying yes to everything. The invite comes in. You are trying to save money, but you do not want to be the person who never shows up. So you say yes. Then comes the weekend trip. Then the concert tickets. Then the birthday dinner at the overpriced restaurant nobody really wanted, but someone already booked. then drinks after work because the whole group is going, then the group gift you never planned for, then the out-of-town celebration that suddenly costs more than your rent. Each yes feels small by itself. Social, harmless, normal. You do not want to look broke. You do not want to seem boring. You do not want to be left out while everyone else is making memories. But every yes to spending is also a no to something else. Every $100 you spend because you were afraid of missing out is $100 not going toward the goal you keep saying matters. The trip you are saving for, the debt you are trying to kill, the investment account you keep meaning to fund. Peer pressure does not disappear after high school. It just gets more expensive. Now the pressure is to match your friend's spending, prove you are doing fine, show that you can keep up, and act relaxed even when the money is not really there. So the card comes out. The balance grows. And later, the stress follows you home from the same event you smiled through. Saying no is a skill. At first, saying no feels awkward. You start thinking about how people will see you. You worry they will judge you. You worry you will miss out. You worry that setting a boundary might hurt relationships you care about. But people who actually respect you will understand when you are honest about your money. And the people who keep pushing you to spend money you do not have were never worth going broke for. A good night does not have to happen at an expensive place. Real friendship should not require financial stress. You can suggest something cheaper. You can say, "Not this time." You can decline without giving a full presentation about your budget. That conversation may feel uncomfortable for a few minutes, but the debt you avoid can protect you for years. Number 8. Waiting until you have more money to begin. You tell yourself you will start budgeting once you earn more. You will start investing once you have real money. You will finally get serious about your finances after the next raise, after one more bill is gone, after the promotion, after life calms down. This is the trap of when, and it is one of the easiest ways to never begin at all, because the perfect moment almost never shows up. There is always another reason to wait. Another bill, another busy season, another excuse that sounds completely reasonable while you are saying it. And while you are waiting, time keeps moving. Other people start building wealth. Compound interest starts working for them. Financial knowledge turns into action for them. But for you, everything stays theoretical. The distance between where you are and where you could be quietly gets bigger. Here is the part most people do not want to hear. If you cannot manage a small amount of money, a bigger amount will not automatically fix you. Budgeting, tracking, saying no, prioritizing, thinking long-term, those are not talents that appear the second your income increases. They are skills, and skills are built by practicing. In fact, when people get more income without better habits, they often just scale the same problems. They spend more, upgrade faster, take on bigger payments, carry bigger balances. Then they wonder why the extra money did not create extra freedom. The habit did not change, only the numbers got larger. Managing money is like any other skill. You learn it by doing it, making mistakes, adjusting, and repeating. Waiting until you have more money before learning money management is like waiting until you are already fit before you start exercising. The order is backwards. Start with what you have right now. The amount is not the point. The habit is. Number 9. Ignoring small expenses because they feel too tiny to matter. $5 here. $8 there. A coffee. A snack. A forgotten app subscription. A checkout roundup you accepted because saying no felt awkward. A convenience fee you ignored. A small impulse buy you justified with "it's only a few bucks." One by one, these purchases feel harmless. Too small to question, too small to track, too small to care about. But small expenses compound too. They just compound against you. $5 a day becomes $150 a month. That becomes $1,800 a year. Over 10 years, that is $18,000 gone before even considering what that money could have become if invested. $30 a month in forgotten subscriptions becomes $360 a year for services you may not even use. The coffee itself is not the villain. The lack of awareness is. When tiny expenses stay beneath your attention, they multiply quietly. Each one feels meaningless in the moment, but together they become a serious leak. 1,000 tiny cuts can still do real damage. Your budget does not care whether money disappears in one big dramatic payment or 100 small painless ones. It only counts the total. This does not mean you can never buy coffee. It does not mean you need to become obsessed with every single dollar. It means you need to know the real number. Know what your habits cost per month. Know what is intentional and what is automatic. Know what you are choosing and what is simply leaking away unnoticed. The goal is not misery. The goal is awareness. Because once you are aware, you can make decisions on purpose instead of losing money by default. Number 10. Treating investing like something you will do someday. You tell yourself you will invest when you have more money, when you understand the market better, when things feel less risky, when life is less busy, when the economy feels calmer, when your other financial problems are handled, when you finally feel ready, and while you keep waiting, the clock keeps running. The most powerful wealth-building machine available to ordinary people is compound interest, but it cannot help you if you never give it anything to work with. Here is what delay actually costs. If someone starts investing $200 a month at age 25, by age 65 they could have around $600,000, assuming average market returns. But if that same person waits until 35 and invests the same $200 a month, they end up with roughly $270,000. That 10-year delay does not just cost a little. It can cut the final result by more than half. That is the brutal part about compounding. Money invested early has time to multiply, then multiply again, then multiply again. Money invested late has to work harder with less runway. Starting early gives you an advantage you cannot fully replace later. Every year you wait is a year you never get back. And yes, the excuses sound reasonable. You do not know enough yet. You do not have enough yet. The market feels confusing. You will figure it out eventually. But reasonable excuses can still create expensive results. While you are waiting to feel ready, your most valuable asset is disappearing. Time. You do not need to become a stock-picking genius. You do not need to predict the market. You do not need to understand every complicated financial product. A basic index fund that follows the total market can be enough to begin, and historically the market has averaged around 10% annual returns over the long term. Open the account. Automate the transfer. Let time do the heavy lifting. Because the longer you delay, the harder future you has to work. Start with $50 a month if that is all you can do. The amount matters less than building the habit. Number 11. Refusing to invest in financial knowledge. You might spend $50 on dinner without thinking too hard. You might spend $200 on shoes that barely get worn. You might drop $500 on a weekend trip that becomes a blurry memory a few months later. Year after year, money disappears into things that feel good for a moment and leave almost nothing behind. But spending time, energy, or money to actually understand personal finance? That somehow feels optional. Something for later. Something you will deal with when life forces you to. And that may be the most expensive habit of all. Financial illiteracy costs the average American over $1,000 a year in direct losses, fees, interest, avoidable mistakes, and missed opportunities. But the hidden cost is even larger. It is the investment growth that never happens, the debt that lasts years longer than it should, the retirement plan that never becomes real because the basic math was never understood. Almost every habit on this list connects back to this. You pay yourself last because nobody showed you a better order. You spend money to save money because the marketing trick feels logical. You let raises vanish into lifestyle upgrades because wealth building was never explained clearly. You delay investing because it feels complicated. You lean on credit cards because the real cost of interest never feels painful enough until it is already heavy. These patterns are not random. They are predictable. They repeat because the same gaps in understanding keep producing the same decisions. And they keep going until knowledge interrupts the cycle. The solution is not mysterious. You have to learn how money actually works, how debt grows against you, how credit scores are calculated, why credit scores matter, how retirement accounts can create tax advantages many people ignore, how to budget without feeling trapped, how to invest without pretending to be an expert, how to build systems that make smart decisions happen automatically. The information is out there. But you have to treat it like something important. You have to prioritize learning money the same way you prioritize anything else that affects your future. Because this is what connects every habit we talked about. At some point, most people were never taught how money really works. So they fall back on instinct. They copy what they saw around them. They do what feels normal. Paying yourself last feels normal because so many people do it. Lifestyle creep feels deserved because earning more is supposed to mean upgrading more. Credit card debt feels manageable because carrying a balance has become common. Waiting to invest feels sensible because the market looks intimidating from the outside. Saying yes to everything feels normal because nobody wants to feel excluded. But these habits are not harmless just because they feel familiar. They cost money, and over time, they cost opportunity. Year after year, if you keep operating on financial defaults instead of financial understanding, you slowly fall behind the version of your life that could have existed. That is why I created a full breakdown of financial literacy that covers the things most people were never taught. How debt really works, how credit scores are built and why they matter, how retirement accounts can give you tax advantages that many people never use, how compound interest can build wealth when it is working for you instead of destroying progress when it is working against you, and how to create systems that make better money decisions automatic so you are not depending on willpower every single day. The link is right here. If several habits in this video felt a little too personal, that is probably the next video you need to watch. Because here is the hard truth. Money habits do not change by accident. Awareness does not appear on its own. The same patterns that have been keeping you stuck will keep doing it until you interrupt them with better knowledge, better systems, and better decisions. Now you have seen 11 of those patterns. You know what they look like. You felt that uncomfortable moment of recognition. That moment where your brain says, yeah, that is me. And that moment matters. But the real question is what you do after it. You can keep repeating the same behaviors and keep getting the same results. You can stay comfortable inside habits that feel normal while they quietly drain your future. Or you can start building the foundation that helps you keep more of your money, grow it over time, and actually control the income you work so hard to earn. The habits that brought you to this point will not take you to the next level. Change begins when staying the same becomes more painful than doing something different. That decision belongs to you. And the best time to make it is right now.